of sliced bread hot from the oven. "Claire-Elise, où es-tu?" She stiffened at his voice. "Oui, Papa. I'm up here." She glanced back at the canvas, fighting the ridiculous urge to hide it. Something within her didn't want him to see the painting. Not yet. And if it had been within her control, not ever. Maybe she could tell him it wasn't finished yet. But one look at her, and Papa would know. Pretense was a skill she'd never mastered. Not like he had. Hurried steps coming up the stairwell told her there wasn't enough time to stash the painting in the empty space behind the wardrobe, and throwing a drape over it was out of the question with the final brush strokes only moments old. Maybe if she told him how much this particular painting meant to her, he would let her keep it. But she had a feeling that conversation would go much like the one 6 months ago, following her mother's passing, when she'd told him, as forcefully as she dared, that she didn't want to paint like this anymore. Her father had never struck her, but she'd sensed he'd wanted to in that moment, and she hadn't considered broaching the subject again. Until now. Ah. His footsteps halted in the doorway behind her. "Finally, you have finished, no?" His tone, less strident than earlier that morning, tempted her to hope for an improvement in his mood. "Yes, I finished." Readying herself for his reaction, and critical critique, she stepped to one side, a tangle of nerves tightening her insides. He stared, then blinked. Once, twice. Jardin de Versailles. Again. A muscle tightened in his jaw. "This is not the painting upon which we agreed." He looked at her, then back at the canvas. Keen appraisal sharpened his expression, but it does show some improvement. Claire felt her nerves easing at the merest hint of praise, until she saw it. That familiar flicker in his eyes. Her father appreciated art in his own way, but he was a businessman at heart. His pride in her artistic talent ran a losing foot race with the profit he hoped to make through selling her paintings. Her paintings. The irony of that thought settled like a stone in her chest, which sent an unexpected and dangerous ripple of courage through her. "Papa, The words fisted tight in her throat, and he wasn't even looking at her yet. "I need to speak with you about something very important to me. I know you're not—" His hand went up, and she flinched. But he seemed not to notice. "This isn't the landscape we agreed for you to paint this time, nor is it what I described to the patron, but—" He studied her rendering of Louis XIV's palace and the surrounding gardens, then gave an exaggerated sigh. "Given we are out of time, and that the patron very much desires to own a Francois Narcisse Brissot, it will have to do." He nodded succinctly, as though deciding within himself at that very moment. "Yes, I am certain I can convince him of its worth. After all," he smiled to himself, "the larger galleries in Paris often ship the wrong painting. But next time, Claire," he looked down at her, his gaze stern, "you must render, to the smallest detail, the painting upon which we have agreed." Claire searched his face. His words stung on so many levels, but the most disturbing— "You've secured a buyer for this painting, before they've even seen it?" A satisfied smile tipped his mouth as his focus moved back to her work. "I told you this would happen. Word is spreading."